I was like anti-this and I was I had to like. This style or that style?
Crazy. I just use my keys to get it. I'm gonna just.
You have.
I'm just gonna hold it down here.
Is there coffee?
There is coffee.
Okay.
Do you want to get some coffee?
I'm caffeinated.
So I just want to take a minute.
Yes, I understand.
Real quickly, oh sure. I'm not used to using the mic in this room. So just real quickly, I want to introduce our Kayla Phillips, our middle school principal, John Sommers, our director of athletics and student safety and security. And then we have Lindsey Grimm, our middle school counselor. Do you serve high school as well? Okay, middle school. So looks like we have mostly fifth grade parents here. This is a big group. Typically, we just go around and introduce ourselves. So just real quickly, if you just say your name and then who's your student, don't use last names.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Coda. We need to record if they say their names. Is that an important part of the Zoom recording? Yes, thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Let's do that. Yeah. All right. Good morning. As Ms. Coda said, I'm Ms. Phillips, the middle school principal, among other things, at our 612 campus. And we'll talk a lot about what 68 versus 912 campus looks like. I'm going to do a quick intro and then we're going to go out of order. Mr. Sommer, it's a busy time of year in athletics right now. So he has to go get some vans to take our softball team to districts. So we're going to flip order a little bit. And we're going to be flexible because that's middle school. I just kind of wanted to think about our intention here and what I thought about it. Go, every adult I've ever talked to has opinions about their middle school experience that I want to keep it front of mind as we start thinking about, do all of us have incoming middle schoolers or close to? Yeah. All right. So I was thinking, on a 1 to 5 scale, if I could get your rating of how your experience in middle school was, 1 was like worst 2 to 3 years of my life. 5 was like, it was really good. Where would you kind of self-score your middle school experience? I appreciate the vulnerability. I didn't teach math, but I'd say we're at like a 3.6 average here, which I'll be honest is probably higher than the average of the conversations I'm typically having with people. But I want to keep that in mind as we talk about it because it's relevant to what we're about to send our kiddos into. But I'm going to pivot because I'm going to let Mr. Sommer speak to athletics and then we'll work backwards from it.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. Middle school is kind of the first time when these kids have an opportunity to participate in school-based athletics. And so along with that comes opportunity and some expectations because they're now subject to the athletic code, which includes academic eligibility and all those other things that they're not used to thinking about. So it's that transition from getting P's and U's or 1s and 2s or whatever they do to getting letter grades and then having to maintain a certain letter grade, having to maintain certain behavior expectations in order to be able to participate. So up there you see like what our opportunities are. So a little bit different than high school sports. Middle school sports have a shorter season. They're usually about 8 weeks. And so they actually have 4 seasons available to them. In the fall, so we start with football. That one says 7th and 8th grade only because that is a WIA, which is the Washington Interscholastic Athletics Association. So that's the governing body for all school sports in the state of Washington. That is their rule. That is not one that we can change. You have to be a 7th grader in order to participate in tackle football. And then we have volleyball for our young ladies, and then cross country we run as a co-ed sport. We just hired a new head volleyball coach for our middle school, which is Melissa Field. I'm currently the head football coach. And then Patty Maddox, longtime cross country coach, has been there forever, is super awesome. She's also our middle school resource teacher. She runs our cross country program. Just a little bit of kind of extra. 7th and 8th grade only for football. We can't change that based off of participation numbers and the amount of space that we have and the amount of coaches we have. If we get really high participation numbers of 7th and 8th graders in volleyball, then we usually cut off 6th grade participation just to keep it so that they have a good experience. You get too many kids, not enough space, not enough coaches, and then it's just not a good experience for anybody. Cross country though, we'd max that out, as many kids as we can in cross country. And then winter 1, we do girls soccer and boys basketball. Winter 2 is girls basketball and wrestling, which is co-ed. Luckily, I remember all these. Girls soccer, we have Marilyn Simmons. Boys basketball, we have Campbell Albertson. Wrestling is me. And then girls basketball is Morgan Davis. And then track. So track is our biggest sport. So we're in that right now. I think we started the season with 125 participants. So for the last 2-3 years, we've been running about 40 to 50% of our middle school population participates. It's the only sport that's offered in the spring. It doesn't require any prior knowledge in order to participate. And it becomes kind of a big hangout. The weather's nice, it's springtime, nothing to do after school. Everybody goes out and goes to track. So currently it is Marilyn Simmons is the head coach. And then we've got several assistant coaches there. And then that one, if you are coming in, expect to get an email asking for parent volunteers to come out, because with 120 kids, I only have 4 paid coaches. You don't have middle schoolers yet, but 30-to-1 ratio adult supervision with middle schoolers is not ideal. And so we usually try and get 4 or 5 parents out there that can get background checks to come out and help. Questions on the different opportunities? Cool. I'm going to pass this around, and if you believe you have a kid that's going to participate in athletics next year, this is their physicals. Okay, if you guys remember, that was always a fun time in your life to get your first physical. There's an option on there should be, for your doctor to mark 12 or 24 months. Okay, the state of Washington allows for a 24-month sports physical. Okay. This is the most limiting factor for kids to participate, is getting their physicals in. Okay. For one, it's if you wait too late, then it's hard to get a doctor's appointment. They cannot step on the field, the court, whatever it is, without having a physical. Okay. If somebody forgets to sign a form on the first day of practice or hasn't paid a fee, that is not something I prevent kids from participating. But if you don't have a cleared physical, I will not let them step on the floor. Yes. Yep. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, that was great. And then if you find yourself in town, there's a couple of the Walgreens and other places that do walk-ins as well, if you're having trouble getting in with your doctor. Okay. Very shortly, if it's not up today, it will be up in the next 2 weeks. Ms. Kimmy Johnson is our ASB and athletics secretary. She will open up enrollment for fall sports, so you can start getting in there. The kids will have to sign some of their own forms. Okay, so that's one of those transitions to middle school, is that they're going to be responsible for doing some of their own stuff. So parents do need to go in and sign all the parent forms, but the kids actually have to go in, log in, create their own Final Forms account, and sign their basically that they've read the athletic code and that they agree to participate by it. So that's how we do that. And if you want to find Final Forms, if you just go to either the high school or the middle school athletics website, one of the first things you should see is a parent description of how to get into Final Forms. You'll go in there, start uploading all your kids' information. I will say that if you have split families, okay, make sure that everybody's information is in there, because if it's not in there, when the emails go out, we don't pull from Parent Square. We don't pull from Skyward. Okay. Whatever information you put into final forms, that is what your students' coaches are going to use to communicate with you. Okay. Whatever information is in there. And that's where the, any medical notes or anything is that super important, because all my coaches have all their emergency cards for all the kids when they travel. And so if something happens when they're not here at home and, mom or dad is 3 hours away, they can start making some decisions, or at least get them the appropriate help. Fees. So all students that participate in athletics, and I would recommend it for all students, is to get their ASB card. Okay. Because that gets them into, if they want to go to any of the high school games or go watch any of the stuff that we charge a gate for, that ASB card will get them in for free. It's a $20 for the year. And then each sport has a $50 participation fee, and that helps us pay our coaches, all of our equipment, all that kind of stuff. Because we have 4 seasons, the most you can pay in a year is $150. So that 4th season, if you participate all 4 seasons, is free. So there was a couple of years ago, Washington State passed House Bill 1660, which basically says that if you qualify for free and reduced lunch, you do not have to pay any athletic participation fees within your school. Okay, so if your student qualifies for free and reduced lunch, just know they have to go in and fill out that form every single year in order to get that. And then that form will cover them for their free participation fees. Okay, if you don't qualify for free and reduced lunch, but that $50 fee is a barrier, or hey, I can pay the $50 fee, but that means I can't afford cleats or something like that. Please don't let that be a barrier. Okay. Contact myself, contact Ms. Johnson in the ASB office, and we will figure something out. Okay. I get bags and bags of cleats and wrestling shoes and all kinds of stuff that people donate to me at the end of the year that we hold on to for a reasonable amount of time, and then we can pass that out to kids that need it. Any questions on athletics? Was that it?
Tell me, Coach.
I don't know that there's another slide. That's what I'm asking.
There's not.
Okay. Yeah.
I was going to say it. I know
do
what
all
you're
the
going to say.
free and reduced applications, and one form that you have to do for it to apply for athletics is you have to do the consent form. So it's attached to the application now, but it's the 3rd page that needs to be also signed for it to transfer over to athletics.
And that might be a shift from elementary to middle high. The last couple of years, elementary school has qualified for free and reduced lunch. So some people are like, oh, that we're good to go. Every applicant and application that gets submitted helps us to identify students who need those to reduce barriers, as well as if we would qualify, because the middle and high school, we do not qualify for free and reduced lunch for the entirety of our population like the elementary school does. So that form is something we'll be pushing at the beginning of the year as part of that.
And the 26, 27 forms are already on the website. So. But if you want to fill them out and send them in now, you're welcome to.
One last thing. So at the beginning of every season, we're going to do what's called a PAC meeting, parent athlete coach. I highly recommend, especially if you're new to the middle high school, is to come to those meetings. That's going to be your opportunity to hear me talk about very specific eligibility issues. And then we'll go into breakout groups with your coaches, and you'll be able to ask questions of your coaches, understand what the practice schedule looks like, understand what the competition schedule looks like, and all that. The last thing I'll say, because this is a shift from elementary school, is if they don't go to school, they don't participate. Okay, so, hey, wasn't feeling well this morning, right? The parent can excuse you for an absence from school. You cannot excuse them from an absence that allows them to compete in athletics. Okay, so unless there's a doctor's note, because you had a prearranged appointment, if your kid doesn't go to school, they don't go to practice and they don't participate in competition. Okay, parents cannot excuse them from that, and that's a state rule and a school board policy. So
the key word there is student athlete. We really prioritize the idea that they're student first, have to learn to navigate the world as a student, and then participate in extracurriculars. And we help them to navigate that and get them there. Questions for Mr. Sommer, or if they come up later, we'll make sure you have his contact information. Thanks, Coach. Good luck today. We'll kind of pivot back to the more overview of middle school. Some of you came in late. So what I did when we first got here is I asked to maybe do a little self-reflection on your experience in middle school. We scored 1 to 5, 1 being like very terrible experience, 5 being best years of my life. I think we averaged, like I said, like 3.6. Maybe it gets skewed a little differently with new people. That I want to be cognizant of, because a lot of people, especially when we score 2s or 3s, it's because there were hardships, there were challenges that we faced in middle school. Every student and every person faces challenges, especially in middle school. And part of our job collectively is to help them navigate that, not to take the challenge away, but to help to build skills and to support our students to navigate through those challenges within reason. Of course, they're still 11 to 14 years old, so there's things we need to keep in mind so we can support them. Some of our tenets and beliefs is, what is our role in middle school? So we're coming from elementary school, very structured, very guided, walking through the halls silently with my teacher. I know exactly where I'm going because I just follow that person, right? Middle school is a little different. We're really focusing on the bridge between dependent and independence. So guiding them through those opportunities so that they can learn what it looks like, but how they can have independence with how they do that and navigate that for themselves. Social emotional strategies and skills are really important for us. It's middle school. Most kids say, I come to school to see peers, friends, social groups, things like that. And then the academics for some, but it's a big driver for a lot of our students. And another goal of ours is to engage our students in exciting, challenging, and collaborative classroom experiences. We're thinking about high school. There's actually a couple things that they'll need to take care of in middle school to get to high school. In 7th grade, they'll take Washington State history. That's a graduation requirement that we need students to have completed before they get into high school. Here's our staff. I'm not going to read them all to you, but I did highlight those of us in yellow that will directly work with mostly 6th graders. I have a couple hires that I'm waiting on, so I don't have a name for you yet. So we have a pretty comprehensive group. To me, we're pretty small but mighty, but there's a lot of us in there. And then other people that you're going to need to get to know. Miss Eaton runs our office. She runs the school, I'll be honest. So when in doubt, I go to Mary. Chantel Petty, our attendants, kind of like Deanne, and some communications there. And then our staff, we'll talk through electives and band. Some of our staff are now having grandkids of kids they had when they first got here, and others are more brand new. So it's a nice mix of longtime Islanders and some newer people. I want to show you our bell schedule. This is one of those things that students, it can feel really intimidating for them, but once they understand that process, it's usually by like the 2nd Friday of the school year. It's not really a concern of theirs. It's more of those of us around them. So we also, like Ms. Richards, run a building leadership team, or BLT. We're talking about where we want to put advisory, whether that's on the Friday that it's on now or a Monday morning to kickstart and have kind of some foundational themes to the week. So that might change. That'll come once we finalize that. A typical day for students, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Wednesday, look like this. Classes are between 55 to 60 minutes with the exception of Wednesdays. 5 minutes of passing period. We review this all the time to make sure, is 5 too much? Is it too little? 5 feels just about right for students navigating to their locker, managing their things, getting to and from. Sometimes they're up and down stairs a couple periods. Sometimes it's right next door. We also know that there's a window of time where they get 2 to 3 minutes of social opportunity, and we like that. We want them to be able to connect with their friends, engage with peers, and have those opportunities. So historically, those 5 minutes feel pretty solid for us. Wednesdays are shorter, just like elementary school with early release. Friday's a little different. And again, we're still deciding where we want to put it. Advisory, I'm going to talk about a little bit more. It's a lot about school culture building, some housekeeping things like registering for classes, and then a lot of social emotional learning, explicit lessons in that, because we want all students to get the same information. So we as a leadership team develop the lessons for advisory, then all students at the same exact time are getting that lesson. I'm going to I kind of want to not make you ask questions at the end, offer the opportunity to ask questions at the end. But I also, if you have a question about what about blank, just raise your hand and we'll kind of just go with the flow. So stop me if you have a question or something looks confusing. The first couple days of every school year, kids get our bell schedule, and then they fill in like a grid, for lack of a better word, for their schedule. Here's a template of what day-to-day looks like for students at the middle school. First period, 6th graders go to a core class, math, ELA, PE, science. while 7th and 8th graders have elective. We keep 6th graders. They don't have overlap with 7th or 8th graders when it comes to their classes, but in 7th and 8th grade, they might overlap in their elective. And then in second period, they'll go to their elective class, and then they'll have the rest of their core classes. For lunch, it typically looks like this. The world of construction that's happening, it might look a little different next year depending on what's open. We're finalizing that with our construction crew. But we work to separate 6th and 7th and 8th graders at lunch. Developmentally, we really want to acknowledge that 6th graders are in this real cusp of coming from elementary to going to middle and high school. And we tend to see them feel a little more relaxed in themselves when they're with just their 6th grade peers. So they eat in what's called the Falcon's Nest. If you've ever been on campus, it's sometimes called the Old Commons. 7th and 8th graders eat in the Cougar Den. If you know who Miss DeMotz is, their classes right now are writing persuasive letters about why we don't have recess. And I really like reading them. It is a big shift for your elementary student about why we don't have recess. So at lunchtime, what we do offer is 2 opportunities for some movement and social play. When the weather's nice, so fall and spring, nice might be your own definition. We go out back or to sport court where students can, for lack of a better word, have recess. They're playing hacky sack, they're throwing a football, they're playing volleyball, they're throwing a frisbee. And then there's intramurals in winter. Mr. Dukainen runs that. So what he does is he takes whatever the unit in PE is for that month or that time, and then it's offered to students in like a tournament style. So they're getting some movement, they're getting some social time. A lot of kids just come and watch, and it's fun to cheer on and just be loud. Part of it is just the opportunity to be loud and goofy together. So that's something we try to prioritize and make available to all students. So here's like an idea of what your kiddo schedule could look like next year. They get to school 8:10, they navigate upstairs to Miss McNeil for math. Bell rings, they navigate out to second period garden with Mr. Robbie. And then they head over to PE with Mr. Stein. They get Mr. Stein twice. They have science, then they go to lunch. They have the option at lunch. We also have our courtyard. It's kind of this, I call it Switzerland, kind of a neutral zone where they can be outside, eat in the fresh air, social. They stand up a lot, they move around a lot, and I like that because I know we're asking them to sit a lot throughout their day. So they're walking around, they're moving around, and they're enjoying themselves. So that's a place they might choose to go and eat outside. Some do it every single day of the year, rain or shine, and others go out there when the weather kind of calls to them. We also have clubs. Clubs happen at lunch. I always tell people clubs live and die by student interest. So 10 years ago, our Harry Potter club was huge. 5 years ago, Taylor Swift club, huge. And now it's pivoted to their interests. So we let clubs come and go based off of what students want and what they want to do with their time during lunch. After lunch, they go up to social studies with Miss Donnelly, 6th period ELA, once we get our new hire. That's an example. Is your kiddo schedule going to look like this? Yes, but maybe not in this exact order. Some of what's nice about our staff, Miss McNeil teaches Math 6, also some social studies. So they might only end up having 4 or 5 teachers next year instead of 6 because there is overlap because Mr. Stein teaches both PE 6 and Science 6. So, which is kind of nice so that they have fewer people to learn and understand what their expectations are in a classroom. It's a little bit more predictable. So that's a benefit of being as small as we are. Questions on what your kiddo's schedule might look like? Yeah? ELA, thanks. English language arts. Yeah. Great question. Yeah. 30 minutes. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Sport court. Yeah. Yeah. So we don't make them. We require them to stay and have the opportunity to eat for 15 minutes. Otherwise, some kids are going to skip lunch altogether or wolf it down too fast. So they have 15 minutes to get their food, eat their food, and then we have a structured time where we're asking them to clean up after themselves, to get released, stack chairs, and then there's a large group that we herd outside to go and enjoy that. Yes, always supervised. Go ahead. Are there what? We have noticed that about 6th graders, they eat a lot, and I like it. And they're learning their body. And a lot of what our teachers do is, I'm going to let you self-manage. And if you feel hungry, you can quietly eat that snack in class. And most learn that pretty quickly. Between 3rd and 4th period is where I see most kiddos pulling out snacks. A lot of teachers, it's part of their bell ringer, they're encouraging it. So we're helping them to self-manage that and learn what their body needs and when they need it. So snacks are one of those within a classroom and what's reasonable. If we're chugging Monsters and we're bringing in popcorn and throwing it, we have that conversation about what's an appropriate and healthy snack. But we encourage them to self-monitor and figure out what works for them. Yeah. I love that question. We have a map. I really struggle with that map myself. And with construction, once we finalize who's going where, because we'll have some small disruption at the beginning of the year, we're going to be utilizing that map. There'll be one or two. Yeah, there's construction timelines are interesting to me. They give it to you, they print it out, and then the next day it changes. So until we have those final conversations, students are going to come and tour in 2 weeks. So we're going to show them the core middle school space and where students in middle school spend their morning versus high school, because we really work on the separation. And then within reason, in the fall, when all students come back, every person is getting tours of campus. So they know the expectations, they know where they're supposed to be, where they should not be, and then they can learn that. Oftentimes when a kid goes, hey, where's room 205? I go, what teacher is that? Because I really know them more by who's in it versus the room number. But I can give you the map and it's online. That's not a strength of mine to understand those maps either, but most kids are like, thank you. I heard like October 2027. Yeah, that pool, I saw those, yeah. Electives are a really exciting time for middle school. They came up to campus a couple weeks ago to enjoy band. They played for them. We talked about instruments, opportunities for your student to come and join band. Because it is a really amazing program, Ms. Balastrasse has taken that program and really just continued on with Mr. Harshman's legacy. Had a concert on Tuesday. It's amazing how quickly they go from never touching an instrument to being able to perform with 40 of their peers. So electives run such as this. Because we have so many students that take band, it's our biggest elective. So they take and they commit to band for the year. We ask sixth graders, like if in the first week, they're like, I'm going to be miserable all year, we'll talk about it. But we ask them to commit to band for the year if that's what they want to do. And if not, they go through our electives rotation. So for a semester, they'll take speech and drama. That's with Miss Brewer. She teaches 8th grade science as well. They're working on many performances right now. They get to go into the auditorium. They learn about being on stage. It's a lot about confidence and learning how to be goofy and enjoying being yourself. Then they rotate through ceramics and they rotate through garden. Both of these are taught by Mr. Robbie. So they'll have Mr. Robbie for a semester and they'll have Miss Brewer for a semester. Because 6th grade, they, other than choosing band, they either choose band or they choose the electives rotation. In 7th and 8th grade, though, they have more opportunities. Every 7th grader rotates through health. Band is obviously an option. Leadership is an option. Garden and ceramics again. Yearbook. Nature and wellness, they are on the coast right now. In 2 hours, they'll be back into service, so we get to hear about how they did. So it's a pretty great opportunity for that outdoor ed to still live on for students who are really interested. It's pretty rugged. One kid goes, do I have to do the shovel thing? Like, you do have to do the shovel thing. So I think there's about 28 kids that take that class. So they're on a week-long overnight trip. So it's a really cool thing. And as a staff, we try to cater to our strengths and our interests, what's available to us, and also what students are interested in. So electives they kind of evolve based on staff and student interest. And most will rotate through in 7th and 8th grade, aside from band, almost all of them, to get them thinking about pathways they might want to take in high school as well. Yeah, I'll go here and then here. Well, 2 weeks ago. I'm kidding. We had had them come up and then we sent some information. We'll send it again to ask them to do that. Okay. Okay. You have a lock-in date? I bet Ms. Grimm can clarify.
Yes, so I do scheduling, and I will take what's on that form. If you have put yes, your student is interested in band, I will schedule them for band. If they change their mind, like Miss Phillips said in the first couple days, they're like, this is actually 100% not for me. Or if you know right now that you had put yes and it's now a no, send me an email. I can just go in and change that. Or the other way around as well. If you're at a no and then it changed to a yes, they want to do band, I can change that. So just that communication it goes a long way. I can get that email, be like, great, thanks, change it. It takes me 2 seconds. But once we get, a week or two into the school year, it gets a little bit harder, mostly because when I do scheduling, I'm looking at how many kids do we have in band. Now I'm splitting the rest of the kids up evenly between speech and drama and then the ceramics class, because then they swap it this semester. So I don't want to have 40 kids in speech and drama, because that 40 is then going to go into ceramics and garden, and the ceramics room is not going to be big enough for 40 kids. So that's why we really have you choose band for the year in 6th grade, or the elective rotation, so that then we can make sure class sizes fit for the rooms that they're in and how many kids we have. Yeah.
And if accessing an instruments barrier, reach out to us, Miss Balastrasse. She limits 6th graders in the instruments that she offers in 6th versus 7th and 8th. And then, of course, there's always exceptions to those. And then we have some instruments that you can rent or borrow, with the exception, like you buy the reed and things like that. But don't let that be a barrier. If your student says, I really want to be in band and we can't afford the rental fee for X instrument. Yeah. Love it. So 7th and 8th graders, they register and they give us their priorities. So we know all 7th graders need to take health. So they pick 3 other ones and they rank order them to say, I really, really want to take leadership this year. We say, okay. So we try to give them their top priorities and then they rank order. So we put them in a class. If there's a kiddo who's like an indoor cat, we're not going to put them in nature and wellness, because we know that that's not a space they want to be and they're not going to thrive. So we look at what they register for, prioritize, and then we work to balance them, knowing that they're going to rotate through most of them. There's actually speech and drama in 7th and 8th as well.
There's also
there's
study
one.
skills in 7th and 8th grade. I know, I realized after. So then that study skills class for 7th and 8th graders is an extra time for them to get work done. And for some kids, maybe the home life isn't a place where they're going to get homework done and they have a couple things to finish and they want to be able to keep up with it. We'll put them in that class to give them that extra time. Or after a quarter, we notice, hey, the student really is struggling to keep up. Let's put them in this class to give them additional time and additional support. Because most of the time for our 7th and 8th graders, their teachers are on their prep period during that time because they're in elective. So they can go and they can ask Miss Richards, what did I miss yesterday because I was absent, and get that worksheet or whatever it is.
Want to go this way for questions?
Yes, what I'm trying to clarify is
Yes.
can they have
Thank you. That's the other part. That's the other barrier. If they're in band, they're in band. Just like in high school, they're going to have some limitations with what they would take. So band is run at the same period. So if they're in band all year. And a lot of students around 7th grade, I'd say probably 8-10% decide in 8th grade. I don't think I'm going to pursue band in high school. So I'm going to get out of band for 8th grade and go through electives. It is a commitment. It's kind of its own culture. They really empower a lot of skill, a lot of opportunities. For some students, they say, I've done it. I'm not interested, so I would like to go and explore the other electives. Thank you for that question. Okay. Yep. That's the only downfall is if they're in band, they do not get the other electives. But what we do for health is there's some requirements from the state for health. So we work with Miss Atwood and Miss Balastrasse so they get the essential things that they do need for health without having to stop the whole band program. Todd? Yep. Yeah. Speech and drama. And actually, yeah, that's okay. And they're starting to work together to think about the scope and sequence of what skills do we want students to explore, learn about, to see if that's a pathway. Not a whole separate, but it talks within scheduling. Yeah, a little bit. There's a slide.
I would say for just with IEPs, in general, Miss Maddox does not take their elective away. I've worked at a different school and they had them take the elective as if they had a lab class. So Miss Maddox doesn't do that. So they'll sub out either a different class or PE or something else, so that all students are getting to have an elective. So with that, all students have an elective. But yeah, so I would say with band numbers wise, just again, because I do the scheduling and I see it, 6th grade band tends to be a lot larger, with about maybe 45 to 50. It starts out closer to like 55, almost 60. And then in that first week, generally a lot of students decide yes or no. And then we get that changed. And then 7th and 8th grade band total is about 60. So there is a lot of drop off between that 6th grade year, doing it, experiencing it, deciding at the end of the year, this is something I want to continue or something I don't. And we have plenty of 8th graders who have only done band all through middle school and they absolutely love it and they do their competitions
And graduating seniors that
have done it.
you had a question as well. Oh, okay. Thank you. PE or phys ed. Here's some pictures. A big component of it is the uniform. We try to prioritize physical education. We understand daily movement is an important part of everyone's life, including your students. It's year-long class taken daily. Lifelong fitness and individual progress in your skills and abilities. That's physical, but that's also teamwork. That's also perseverance. That's a lot of things that we build into it outside of dodgeball or whatever you might be picturing in your head. 6th graders have PE separate from 7th and 8th graders. This year, we started the year, everyone dressing down in uniform. Due to construction and locker room availability, we had conversation once we closed our main locker rooms and had to pivot to athletics. 6th graders were not dressing down at second semester. Depending on construction and timelines, we'll let you know what our plan is with uniform. And our PE, it's not a class, it's more of a program. If you've been here longer than a couple years, you probably know Mr. Jakainen really looks at programming beyond what can I do with a class of 32 kids. He's looking at sequential progress using state standards, but also things students can access or don't have access to. So we have things like kayaks, we have rollerblading, we have things that are relevant to our students or things that we want them to be able to think that they can do beyond just in their middle school lives. So it really looks at them as a well-rounded person versus just what can I do in PE so that they can get some movement. A lot of what I really like is when student athletes, they come to school and they're like, I am so sore. They learn about stretching, they learn about anatomy and muscles so they can figure out what can I do to this so that I can still participate in PE, show up to practice today and not be sore, but learn more about my body, how I can take care of it, how I can fuel it, and what I can do so that I can continue to progress. PE is a really fun place to be. He also requests, if you ever want to be a helper, the skating unit is awesome. Day 1, call it like baby deer's first day out versus day 5. They're playing roller hockey. One girl on day 1, she goes, by Friday, he's going to make us do hockey. Those are 2 different sports. But a lot of students, there's just this rapid progress in their skill. And some kids are going backwards by day 5 and others are off the wall by day 5. And there's that individual progress, 100% participation that we get to see and get to explore in PE.
And I was
Friends?
recently talking to the high school counselor, and she said that one of the biggest differences, there's a big difference between physical activity and physical education. So I know that we're talking about high school a little bit. There gets to be questions about that in high school, and that's what one of the PE teachers said. So keeping that in mind, that your student might be someone who is physically active all of the time in all sorts of different things, but there is a very big difference between that physical education part and just physical activity. And that's what our PE teachers incorporate into their programming.
We have a brand new gear for our PE unit for skating, thanks to our school's foundation. Our teachers write grants a lot, and that's something that we invested in. Some of our equipment was 20, 25 years old. Inline is more common than the classic skating. I don't even know what they're called. So we had to upgrade some of our equipment. And also we have some kids who are in a size 6 shoe and some are in a size 12. So we have a really broad range of what we needed. And so we have done some upgrades. Lunchtime, I consider it my classroom. I don't have a classroom, but lunchtime is that space I get to oversee and think about how we can improve and give students the opportunity that meets their needs. We kind of already touched on this. A big one we talk about is how we don't clean up after you. So we really encourage students in that community. My buddy had to run off because he has a test and he's really nervous. So he wanted to get right to class and he left his stuff. So we say, hey, you know what? Could you help him out? Could you throw it away today and just remind him like, hey, next time when I'm really stressed because I've got something going on. So it's that community mindset we try to think about. Stacking up chairs, cleaning up. Your students also don't have an assigned table like they do at elementary school. I know they come in and it's pretty structured, whereas aside from sixth graders in the Falcon's Nest, seventh and eighth in the Cougar Den, they get to sit at a table that meets their needs socially, what they want. We try to, within reason, they can stand up or be in the courtyard because we know that we're asking them to sit a lot and they're getting such a structured amount of so many different instructions every day throughout the day. We try to balance those opportunities for social movement, eating, but also a little bit of independence to learn what works for them. This is sport court out back. So there's all sorts of things. Hacky sacks were requested, and that was a little exciting, but a little full circle moment for me. A lot of the questions right now is what's campus look like? And a big concern, I know a lot of elementary to parents coming into middle school is how does middle and high school navigate together? High school has a 4-period day. So our bell schedules, we don't have passing period at the same time. So they're on their own schedule, and middle school is a 6-period day. So we don't have lunch together. We don't have classes or passing periods together. A lot of campus right now, campus tours are going to happen in September after some updates with construction. There's bathroom changes. There's a lot of things starting June 15th is pretty much the day that campus will close, and then they'll start doing some more internal work. So tours, wayfinding in designated spaces, our goal is for definition of that, of what are spaces for middle school students to be in, what are spaces for high school students to be in, and helping all of us navigate that together so that they are still seen as an entire separate entity and can be themselves, knowing that our high school is there as well, but we try to not have overlap. Occasionally, I think 2 days a week when the high school bell schedule, some of their students transition to different classes during our lunch period, and there's always supervision. A big one that's a big change, we don't use pickup patrol. As a parent here, I find it really great. So that first week of school, helping students to know and have that plan with their grown-up and to know, am I going to practice after school? Am I going to get on the bus? What bus do I get on? So you will assign your student your bus for the year with transportation. We also know they're split families, or every other Tuesday we go to grandma's. It's a conversation with your students so that they know where they need to go. So it's that independence as well. And that communication from you to your student and then from you to us. There's always exceptions. Hey, we got the ortho, so you're actually going to get on this bus to meet me here today. That's that communication piece back to the office that might look a little different than you might have had in pickup patrol. It's also helping students to recognize there is nobody to walk you out, line you up right in front of Airbus. It's the bell's rung. Where do you need to go? We help them get to the buses, and then that independence is there for them as well. So that's a big shift, and most students within the first week or two get there. We're also trying to guide them and help them. A big thing that we ask students to do is to learn to memorize your phone numbers. It's odd the number of kids are like, I don't know their number, or have it written down somewhere. They don't have to memorize it, but have access to it. So is today the day I'm doing that thing? I'm like, I don't know, let's call. So we have phones available for them so that they can reach out to you so that they know where they need to go after school and what that looks like for them. Yeah. Thank you for that question. That needs to be called in. So if I'm going to your house because we're going to go and do our science thing together, you would call the office for a note, or they can have a note written by you that they would give to that bus driver that gives permission to it. Yeah, but we're not going to put a kiddo. Occasionally, Linda doesn't like it, but if I see or I talk to a parent and they're like, I forgot to call in and the bus is there and it's leaving in 2 minutes, on their note to say, I know they're going with this person, they're getting off. That's that other step of that communication piece. So it can go from you to the main office. It can go via a written note they can give to the main office to get a ticket, or they can give that directly to the bus driver. Yeah, that one can get sticky, but no different than calling Deanne to say, hey, we've got a change in this. Can you get a note to my student? Thank you for that question. Yeah. With transportation, Yep. Yep. And a lot of families I see, especially the first couple weeks in their Chromebooks, kids are putting little notes and to-dos in there saying Tuesday, Thursdays, monkey bus, blah, 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 are these buses. So students are self-learning their schedule and knowing where they need to go to get into that routine. Part of what I always tell students, we have new students coming. We have some of you who've known each other since Children's Center. We treat every student who shows up on campus like it's their first day on campus. Especially with construction, it is going to be that way for a lot of students. So those first couple weeks are a lot of explicit training, tours. Do you know where so-and-so is? Do you know how to get to this place? Asking questions, taking their input so that we know that they know from point A to point P, this is how I get there. This is how I get there safely. I highlighted the student in yellow because they're truly the core component between all of our communications. We're going to communicate with you. We're going to work with you, and really empowering your student to start to be that middle person to what'd you do today? Let's get on Google Classroom together. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. So a lot of our communication from home to school is facilitated through your student and then digitally, of course. And I'm going to show you some Google Classrooms from our current 6th grade teachers about the day-to-day. Your student uses primarily Clever at elementary school. At middle and high school, we use Google Classroom as the platform for all classes. Every teacher is required to maintain a Google Classroom platform. So that's your student navigating between 4 and 5 Google Classrooms because they have 4 to 5 different academic classes that have that. Google Classroom can be helpful as a parent or a guardian. You can get weekly digests to see what's going on in class. So that's where their work is, their current work. Skyward holds their grades, attendance tracking. You can pay lunch fees there as well. Parent Square is the most direct place for regular updates, communication, that communication from building level all the way to teacher updates. I see a lot of teachers posting, hey, this is coming up this week. Check Skyward for this to make sure this happened. Changes in scheduling, XYZ, so that you have that communication. And the key to this is your student. I'm going to show you some Google Classrooms of teachers today. Miss McNeil is one of our fantastic math, 6th grade math teachers. She posts every day. Is this touch? Okay. It can be. That's okay. So every day she's posting in her classes for the students and for you so that you can understand what they were doing today. Or let's say your kiddo gets home and you say, how was math? And they're like, it was fine. We didn't do anything. So, well, let's get on Google Classroom. Well, yesterday you guys finished your unit rates. What's a histogram? Ask your student. You can have that conversation about it. I don't know why it's doing this tech thing. So that they can post there. So you can see every day what your student was engaging in and participating in through Google Classroom. Yep. Yeah, that comes up. Ms. DeMotz is teaching ELA right now, so she's posting materials as well. I asked them a survey question that pertains to us. So you're seeing a thread of what's going on in class. Sometimes you'll be able to see your students' work. And then other times it's things that are turned in hard paper versus digital. So that's a balancing act some students have to start to learn. We'll talk about technology in a minute. This is a platform for communication for you and your student to know what happened day to day and what they might have been working on or what might have been due that day. It's a really nice central spot. You can get communication. You can sign up as soon as your student gets enrolled, whatever email we have through our system, you get invitations as well. It can be really helpful for students to and families to communicate and learn. Questions on Google Classroom? 6th graders, we're going to talk a little bit more about technology, but they're going to be a little more sheltered when it comes to their use of technology. So still expect email communications from Parent Square pretty frequently. What's going on this week? What happened last week? Versus just them completely and independently doing that. Is their student what? Yes. So all students, and they can only utilize their school email. So all that communication will go via their school email that is synced through that. I think starting 7th, 8th. Yeah. That's a great question, actually. It's this balance of digital citizenship, and do you know who you're communicating with? That often doesn't happen through our school emails, or they are emailing at home, which can be a great tool, and I think that can be helpful. And it's the balance of what's the exposure level that we're giving them. So in 6th grade, it is still blocked, and 7th and 8th, it's not. But it's that tiered approach to exposure to technology. Yeah. I'm gonna let Ms. Grimm speak a little bit more about registration. I think we've started to talk on this a little bit, trying to be cognizant of time. And
All right, so I'm going to just touch on this really quickly. So students are going to register. We will resend out the elective selection. So you're just going to basically pick elective wheel or band and what instrument is your kid interested in if they're going to do band. And then do you need any financial support? It's super quick. And then that's what I'm going to take and I just auto upload it into the system, and then that's what they'll be registered for. Anyone who doesn't register, they are just going to get put to the elective wheel because I don't just put kids into band. So then they will, if in August or September your child has decided they want to do band, I can just change them over to band. Going that direction is a lot easier in that first week compared to the opposite, just because the numbers are a little bit harder in a classroom compared to the band room where they can fit 60 kids. So students are enrolled in their courses, English, social studies, math, science, PE, and their elective, unless there are suggestions currently from their 5th grade teacher for maybe an advanced math class, or if they have an IEP and they're taking replacement classes or a lab class. And then I work with Miss Maddox to figure out what classes are they going to be taking that year. And for the most part, it stays the same the whole year. So IEP and 504 accommodations are always communicated to our staff. They have access to everything online in Skyward. So if there's a 504, they can pull it up and see what the accommodations are. For new 504s, there is a process that we go through. There's referral questions. There's a team that meets to discuss how's your student doing? Are there interventions that have been put in place? Is the disability or diagnosis or perceived disability or diagnosis affecting them to a substantial level? So not just it's really hard, it has to be affecting them and their ability to learn and access the curriculum. So it might be that they have ADHD, yes, and there might be accommodations that a teacher puts in place in all their classrooms that really works. And we tell all the teachers, hey, you know what? It's really great if they sit in front so that they aren't distracted by all their peers. They don't need a 504 for that. That is something that their teachers can put in place and then continue moving forward. The accommodations are, what do they need that are not things that teachers can do in the classroom or are going to do in the classroom no matter what. So it's much more nuanced. It's not just I have a diagnosis, I qualify for a 504, which there is sometimes some confusion with that. But that's something that if that comes around, you can send a request. There is a process, especially moving into 6th grade. They've never been a 6th grader before. It's very different than elementary school. So there has to be an evaluation period to see, is this impacting their ability? And so it's not I'm going to do this thing and in 2 weeks I have a 504. It's a process. The student schedules.
I will say, if they have a 504 or an IEP at elementary school, it travels with them. So it's not restarting the entire process if they have one currently in place.
Yes. Yeah, those move up, but for new ones. And then so student schedules, they will be available on the first day. Everyone is going to be confused about where classrooms are with all of the movement. So know that all 7th or 6th through 8 are going to be navigating where are these classrooms at, what's my new schedule, and there's grace for the passing periods, figuring out where to go, who their teacher is, and we make sure that they get where they need. And then requests for schedule changes can be submitted the first 3 days of the school year or maybe quarter or semester, but we don't change it for social reasons. So if it's like they really want to be with this friend, I'm likely not going to be making that schedule change. But if it's I'm in the wrong class, I got scheduled for science twice, or there's some kind of special reason, we can discuss that further. But if it's I really want to be with my friend Kayla and I'm not in her class, I will likely not be making that change. Oh, can't be together. Yeah. So that also depends as well. There's sometimes where there's conflict, yes, but there's also conflict everywhere, right? We have to figure out how can I be in a class of 30 and maybe it's talking with that teacher of we're not going to partner them, make sure that they stay apart, but still be able to be in the same classroom. Because let's also look at our scheduling. We've got 3 sections of each class. The likelihood that you're in a class with someone who you don't like or get along with is very high. But if that conflict is so severe where there is safety concerns, there's social emotional concerns, it is so distressing that they don't want to come to school or it's becoming something bigger, we will absolutely be looking at schedule changes and how we can help support that. But if it's a conflict of like, I don't like how they looked at me, we're going to navigate that on a social emotional level, not in the schedule change level.
Well, it's nice at middle school. It's even for 55 minutes a day versus 6.5. So you might not be friends or you might be annoyed with someone, and learning how to navigate that. And it's 55 minutes versus the 6 hours that is self-contained in elementary. That a little exposure and figuring out strategies and communicating with adults around you. Had a kid come and said, I can't sit by so-and-so. I said, I respect that you acknowledge that about yourself. Let's now communicate that back to your teacher so that we can set you up for success.
And then social emotional learning, we are doing restorative practices. So it's not always going to be discipline first. It's going to be how can we reflect on this situation and go through all those steps. And then we have our caring school communities or collaborative school communities. Yeah. And we use that in our advisory lessons. I'll take things from there and build lessons off of it. And yeah, so we do a lot of it in advisory, but a lot of it is in the classroom with the teachers. They're fantastic about it. When they come down to the office, they might have a conversation with me, with Mrs. Phillips, maybe Mr. Sommer, and we just work to really help continue to develop their social emotional skills. All of our teachers. So they get split up. Yeah. So right now we have it by grade band. So all 6th graders will have one of their 6th grade teachers. So next year they'll be likely with a 7th grade teacher.
And they're getting the same lesson. So our leadership team puts together the lessons. We try to look through it together at a big picture, but it's emailed out weekly with, here's your lesson plan for the day. You know your students, how you want to deliver that. But so every student is getting that lesson at the same time, but what's also developmentally appropriate. So we might be in the same theme, but 6th graders' lesson might be look different than the 8th grade because developmentally we want to introduce things or talk about in comparison to. This is a snapshot of the many supports we have for students available. The slides will go out. You're welcome to take a picture. It just gives you a snapshot of who, what, how to get a hold of them and the frequency of which they're at school. Just to give you an idea of the options available. The first couple weeks of school, we also make sure every student knows who all these people are so that they know they have options to communicate, to seek support with whatever their needs might be. It's great. It's never enough. And it's a lot at the same time. And kind of an idea of you're like, I don't know what McKinney-Vento means, supporting unhoused students. So they're a little nuanced to some subgroups and some more big picture. Our technology policy, 100% of our staff are committed to this. I recognize I have my cell phone in my back pocket right now. At school, I wouldn't, because we're modeling for our students what we expect of them. If your student carries a personal device, whether that's earbuds or a cell phone, it is invisible from the time they walk on campus until the bell rings. Because we understand cell phones, but also earbuds, things like that, are detrimental to their learning, their distractions. So we have committed to, as a staff, being a personal device-free campus. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So let's say your student has their phone and it's out and they're texting someone, what we do as a staff, we are all committed. We're going to take it. It's going to go to the office. We're going to give you a call to say, hey, your student had their phone out, and you can come and pick it up. If it's a habitual problem, we're going to work more with that student and with you to say, sounds like we have a problem with this. How can we help more? So usually about this time of year, we have 1 or 2 students who they just check their device in the beginning of the day at the office. It gets locked away and then they can pick it up after. We also have students who say, something's going on at home. Is it okay if I step into the office so I can text my parent? I love that. They're learning to advocate. They recognize when's an appropriate time to do that. And they know that that's available to them. And they're recognizing like, I have to take care of this so I can be present at school and I need to do it in an appropriate way because we all have things that happen. So it's helping them understand and advocate that I have a device. I need to use it to get a hold of so-and-so. So that's a balancing act for us. Yeah. Those are a little stickier. We tend to see that as a tool of like games, or I'm still texting someone through it. Within reason, like if a student has medical needs for it, of course they're going to wear it. Otherwise, typically no. And I have seen a couple kids this year. I didn't even realize they wear them because it's never been a concern. So that's kind of a gray one. Earbuds, like AirPods or stuff, we discourage, but larger headphones or plug-in ones because students can have access. Music can be helpful or drowning out sounds for students. So those are fine. It's the personal earbuds where your teacher's talking and you're wearing those. That's a concern of ours of, I don't know how much you're able to hear or engaged that you are. Our staff or our leadership staff read this book this year. If you haven't read it, it's a really, really great read. It's called The Anxious Generation. It talks a lot about technology and its impact. There's brain development, there's social development, there's a lot of components to it. It doesn't leave you feeling depressed or scared or worried. It gives you ideas and strategies. I also understand that if we don't as a collective have this conversation together, because I'm sure your kid has come and say, I'm the only kid without a cell phone. You've probably heard that, but that's not true. But if you as a group are saying like, we're all going to wait, you're going to have this collective pressure that's coming off of them. This quote's gone around a lot and I really like it. And it's hard because your kid is feeling pressure from so many areas. But give your child a smartphone when you're ready for their childhood to end. Cell phones are really scary. That book kind of breaks it down that we're hovering over them more and more at parks and they can't go out and do these things, but we hand them a device that sends them out into the world to things that we can't even track because students are slick. There's apps, there's things that allow them to bypass things and we only know so much. So the idea of that 11-year-olds still might, most of them do, go play Legos, creative play outside, play in the playground. Those are things we're really trying to nurture. But as soon as we hand them devices, those things start to peel away because they're built for engagement and they're talking to people. I have so many kids that have, who is this person you're even talking to? Oh, he's so-and-so and he's 16 and he lives in Colorado. Nope. No, he's not. No, he's not. And then concerns of how students are communicating with each other, what they're sharing. Some things that they're unaware of become a legal issue really quickly. If they're sharing inappropriate photos, child pornography, things like that come immediately, which can get really scary for all of us, especially them not realizing, I didn't intend it for it to be that way, but by definition, that's what it becomes. So if your kid's saying, Mom, I'm the last person in my class that doesn't have a smartphone, but if we as a collective are having this conversation of like, hey, when are we going to wait? What are we going to do about it? Smartphones are different than flip phones. I have a lot of kids walking around with flip phones or phones that are like, I can text 4 different people in my family and it can't take photos. So there are new technology that's coming around to help support. Because I get it, your kids got school and then they got to go to track, but then from track, they're supposed to walk up to softball and you want to make sure they're okay. So there are tools that can allow you to do that. That doesn't include access to social media platform, all the other things. Todd, and then. Yeah.
Very above board.
Yeah, we use a program called Securely. So every click that they have, I can go. Some of us have access to everything a student is searching, and some are green light and some are flagged and blocked. And then there's some that if they're searching certain things that are concerning self-harm, depression, bullying, harassment, those get flagged and it gets pulled to us and sends to us so that we can react and respond quickly for the safety of your student. And then letting students know that the device that you are given from school, a Chromebook, is yours for school use. So it is not a personal device to go and explore other things that are not related to school. There's enough of us on it that it's one of those. Thank you, Todd. Yep. I've actually been talking with transportation about how do we help to support all students, especially there's a K-5, there's 6-8, and then there's 9-12 and different expectations. And how do we make the bus ride an appropriate? I know we're running long and I get it. You all got jobs and lives and kids. How do we manage that so that it's an appropriate ride? And how do we manage, it's a bus driver driving, their top priority is safety, driving this bus, and then managing a classroom that's behind them. So I've actually started talking with transportation of what can we do so that it's tiered and it's safe. It's kind of one of those areas that is a little slipperier that we want to clean up and tease out. So Linda and I, our director of transportation, have started having conversations. Go ahead, Kennedy. I am aware, and thank you for that. So if you see that, report it. You can use our vector alert system. It can be anonymous, or you can make a phone call, stop by, talk to anyone. Yeah, so when we know about those things, we can do something about it. It was reported to me, and so I was able to get that from the student and respond appropriately and as quickly as possible for the safety of that student and everyone involved. Chromebooks can be a really great tool and can also be scary. As a staff, we've been talking a lot about technology and what its role is with our students. It plays a part in our lives day to day. We know that we need to get them ready for the 21st century. And how do we give them safe and appropriate opportunities to engage with technology? So next year, Chromebooks for 6th graders are going to stay in the classroom. They're called computers on wheels. We're going to call them cows. They're going to name them. We're going to love it. So your student will use a Chromebook in classes, but they are not going to have a device checked out to them for them to carry around and bring home every day. 7th grade on up, they have it checked out to them and they have a little more independence for how they navigate that. We're going to use it. It's used as a complement to curriculum. We don't want the primary amount of their time of day on a screen. There's so much to learn, interpersonal skills through collaboration. It can be seen as used as a distraction. And we want explicit intentional lessons on digital citizenship, slow implementation and responsibility level so that students know, respect technology, the physical part of it, the world in which they're being exposed to, how they navigate it and use technology to help them do things, but not as a replacement to their brain. AI's coming, it's great in some ways and it's really scary in others, and what we're doing with it and how we help students navigate those, but in a really tiered way. So your student won't actually have it checked out to them, but they will use computers throughout their day. Yeah, so yep. And the idea is Google Classroom, that's an app you can download, you can have on your phone, Communications Home. So there's going to be a little shift in the role of Google Classroom and how we're communicating to students about what we did in class, what might need to be going home, completed in XYZ timeline. Conversation with that also lines into homework. There's mixed research on efficacy of homework and how important it is, but the goal of homework, especially at the 6th grade level, should be pretty minimal. I see a lot of sixth graders jump from fifth to sixth and go, oh my gosh, there's the workload's different. It is. It's also a reflection of use of class time that we have to balance and talk about with students. Some students go home and they're like, I have a lot of homework. And a parent calls, say, why do they have so much homework? So I go to the teacher, I say, what's going on? And they say, oh, well, he chatted with his friends for the 35 minutes we were supposed to be doing XYZ assignment, despite the 3 redirections. So in a perfect world, sixth graders would maybe have 20 minutes of reading a night, maybe a little bit in math on the rare occasion. So the idea of sending Chromebooks home, by eliminating that, it's really helping them to know that in class is where you're doing the hard work so that when you go home, you get to be your 12-year-old self, and whatever that might look like. I asked our current sixth graders for some advice. I said, what would you want to tell yourself from a year ago? And it kind of condensed it all, and there's a lot of words up here. I really love hearing their reflections and what they have advice for incoming students and advice for you as parents. They want you to ask questions, check and get better grades. That's a huge shift from 5th to 6th grade, as they're going to get access to Skyward, where their grades get posted and updated frequently. So teaching them to get into the habit of that. We do it in advisory. What are they looking for? The missing assignments, talking about, okay, that's a 5-point assignment that's missing next to a 30-point assignment that's missing. What should we prioritize? How do we communicate to that teacher so that we can get you back on track? Try your best, work hard as you can, recognize that school gets harder in middle school. Socially, avoid getting involved in drama, stick with inclusive friends. Don't let others' comments or opinions affect you. Teachers and staff are there to help. Don't be shy to ask. Mindset, be confident, prepared. Some things be more difficult than you might have expected. They said it's not as hard as it looks, and the first day is not as difficult to navigate. Some of their advice is going right to their next class when the bell rings. Those first couple weeks, they kind of have this look, you're like, okay, how do I help you get there? And then by that 3rd, 4th week, they're really flowing and they're really understanding. I go from here to here, and I always see this person here, and then we get to move on. They got mixed feelings on school lunch. They like the extra activities. We'll talk about that on the next slide. So this is them, and I'm going to share this back with the incoming 6th graders when they come. We're going to come back and talk to them again, and then they're going to come back for tours. This is, I said, what would you tell your parent or guardian if you could give them advice for helping you navigate 6th grade? I read something once, it was like, you should parent like a cat instead of a dog. When they're younger as a dog, you're super responsive, we're kind of giddy. Whereas a cat's kind of in the room and you got to kind of make them want to come to you. So it's more of this, you're in the room and you're available and you're there for when it's needed, but you're not the golden retriever puppy bouncing on them. They said to be there for them, even though they might not always be showing you that or saying that. This was a theme that came out of that they do want you there. Offer continued support, take questions, help with editing schoolwork. I know that's hard, but we'll talk about that in a second. It can be draining. They're tired, they're worn out. There's a lot that they navigate day to day, and they're recognizing that. And sometimes they're just kind of done by the end of the day. Talked about advising parents to help with assignments, but trust, I thought this was really insightful. Trust our methods, even if it differs from the parent's understanding. So a lot of it is like the new math. What's great is Snow Isle offers online tutoring every night from like 6 to 10. Okay. So you can go to Snow Isle, request a tutor in a subject, and you'll have a live in-person person that they can navigate it with. Readiness to Learn has tutoring on Tuesdays. You have teachers before and after school that can help your student. I really liked this. One student advised accepting a B or a C. It's not the end of the world if I don't have straight A's in middle school. I also really like that they noted, like, if I have such high pressure to get an A, it might motivate me to want to cheat for the sake of getting the A versus learning something through a B or a C. This is a lot of middle school is, so they got a C. Okay. Is their future boss going to know that they got a C in 7th grade math? No, they're not. But what skills did they learn? How did they persevere through the challenge of that? And how did we guide them in it versus plowing that really smooth and easy road for them? What could we do? What time did your teacher get there in the morning? I can drop you off 20 minutes earlier so you can go up there to get a little extra work. What was hard about that test? Okay, let's break it down. Let's see what we can do so that they understand that we're not going to take that challenge away, but we're going to talk about ways to work through it. And some just are like, I don't need you. I would lean into this to be there for them. I know a lot of students and families, it's hard because we got hormones showing up, we got puberty, and they just want to be completely independent, but it's also access, being there, being a presence, sticking to routines or things that you know your student really loves as a family as best as you can, because there is a lot to navigate. They also recognize and stated like they are appreciative. So they might not show it the way that we're used to, but they can reflect on that and say that. What surprised them? The friendliness and acceptance among students. They thought they were nice. They liked that sixth graders, we had a dance in the fall or the winter. They danced. It was super fun. The sixth graders, it's kind of that novelty of the first time experience, but they show up and they're really excited. So we're trying to curate those places where they can be themselves, developmentally appropriate, and feel safe to explore some middle school experiences. They liked having sports. Students generally reported not having any or very much homework. Students were surprised by the amount of freedom. The first couple weeks, they're like, I can just sit anywhere at lunch. You may. This is your entire commons area. You can pick your table. You can sit with your buddy. You can go in the courtyard. You get pizza and chocolate milk every day. It blows their minds. So some of that just like, you also have to self-navigate yourself from first to second period. Nobody's walking down the hall doing the zero sound. So it's you getting yourself there and figuring out what's appropriate for you, and doing that. They're a little surprised by the sheer number of people. Feels small to me, but I taught at a 1400 high school. So, but also acknowledging that it does feel big. There's stairs. It's a lot to navigate. There's new places to navigate. So I recognize that it's a lot and there's a lot of faces. Yeah. You're at like 89 kiddos. That's tiny to me. Yeah, it feels super tiny. We know a lot about our kids. It feels pretty small. Yeah, we live in around 300. I'm not going to read these to you. I'll post them online, but these are questions that they have asked us that we use as part of their orientation. We can talk to them about all the things. They have questions about stuff. The big one is lockers. They have a hallway locker that we will assign them. I'd say 20% of kids use them. And then they have these backpacks full of stuff. And I'm like, why are you carrying that around? You don't have math till sixth period. And it's an experience and they're excited to get it. And then most don't use it. So one of my pieces of advice for you is to buy a lock this summer because you're going to need it for PE at some point. Teach them how to open it. It's just one of those life skills. You're like, you just got to practice. They always come to me. They're like, this isn't the right code. I'm like, it is. It's the right combo, but it's the finesse of learning it. So $6, buy a lock, start practicing it because when they're in PE and they have lockers, they're going to need that lock anyway. So they can learn that. So lockers are a big, exciting thing in middle school, and then it just goes away. So we continuously encourage them to use lockers. Please do that for your child as well. Why are you carrying your math book for 6 periods if you don't have math till 6th period? Put it in your locker. Put things in your locker. It's safe. It's protected. Some students put their cell phones in there at the beginning of the day. Go pick it up at the end of the day. I think there's another slide of all their many questions. So these we're going to go through with your students a little bit more because these are the questions that they're asking us. This one, I think a few years ago, elementary started a year later. So this isn't a shock to them anymore. First bell at 8:10, the first period starts at 8:15. Not new, but the flow of it might feel a little faster because I know elementary school, we come in, who's getting hot lunch, we do a nice entry task, there's a community meeting. It might feel a little different because I have math first period and the teacher, she's going to set the community and she has a lesson we need to get through in order for me to then get off to second period. So there is a little bit of stamina that comes with the first few weeks of middle school for sure. This is more just health reminders from our nurse, TDAP. She has forms. If you have questions regarding that, if you've not had a problem to date, I think you got a year to worry about that. Nurse Atwood, she's the district's nurse manager, but she's our nurse on campus 6 through 12. So any concerns, health needs or anything, Nurse Emmy is your go-to for those things. Oh, hold on. Number 3 is a big one. Yep. If your student takes a medication, they can't self-carry. So you would need a doctor's note. Emmy has that, and then the prescription for it. Some students or families bring it in their own different container. There's some different specifications. So that's something you would want to connect with her. Even if it's Tylenol, or kiddo gets headaches a lot, the nurse would want to support you through that. This is kind of us again, more the people too. If your kiddo's having a hard time in math, I would encourage you to reach out to that math teacher first. You can CC myself, Miss Grimm. If your student's having a problem with that teacher, feel free to navigate around them, come to us so we can work together for that. But if it's a content thing, I would encourage you and your student together. One of our jobs, we really help students. We say, let's draft up an email to your teacher together, because it can feel really intimidating to go up to an adult for whatever their request is. So encouraging them that, say, let's sit down together. Let's email your teacher so we can figure out what to do to support them. Myself, Miss Grimm, registrar, if you're not already registered, she's your person. Again, Miss Eaton, she has the answer to everything. Kimmy is our ASB athletic secretary. So if you think your kiddo's gonna play sports, she would be your go-to. ASB as well, an ASB card so they can get into high school games. It's a form of identification. She's kind of a go-to for any of the extracurricular things within our school. Math is about 22 kiddos, whereas the other classes are about 28, 29, sometimes up to 32, depending on the availability and what the classes are. Math tends to be the smallest because we run 4 sections of math. Go ahead. Love that. So pairs are assigned through special education. So if a student, if there's students in that class that have it in their IEP, they would be in that classroom, but pairs aren't, we don't have general education pairs that would be in a classroom throughout the day. It varies. Typically and usually how it's broken down is they might have pair support for 20 to 30 minutes within a period, depending on the section. I'll take questions and then I'll give you your summer homework. What other questions or what's rolling around in your head right now? I know it's a lot of information. I'm gonna go this way. Yep.
The elementary school.
Yeah.
August.
Yeah. Connect with Ms. Grimm if they've been registered and it's been sent through us. And really the only question at this point is what elective, so we can work with you on that. And make sure you're, as new people enroll, make sure you're on Parent Square. Yep.
There are tours that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you the dates. Yeah, if you're ICA, Waldorf, whatnot, we'll make sure your kiddos are coming for those tours and presentations. I'll get you those dates and I'll also post it with this as well. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. For middle school, there's advanced math. So your student could place into an advanced math class. And by placement, it doesn't have to be set today. So the first few weeks, teachers are getting to know your student, doing some baseline data, some diagnostics to say, I think we put this kid in the wrong level. We'll have a conversation with them and with you. I have some students who are academically ready, but executive functioning wise, they're really not. So we have that conversation of, should we challenge them academically and then support them through the executive functioning? Or is it too much and it's going to adversely impact them to put them in that advanced class versus grade level math? And then sometimes at semester, a teacher says, you know, this kid's doing really great. They've made a lot of progress. I'd like to challenge them to do advanced math. And sometimes we have the conversation of, advanced math has been really hard this year. I've noticed it's wearing on you. You seem really stressed when you come in. Should we talk about joining the general on-track math course? Does that answer your question? Within all classes, teachers are going to have extensions. And as they get to know your kid, they're going to challenge them in different ways to help them to explore in their pathway and at the rate that they want to go. Yeah. Yep. Todd. You're talking like discipline? Okay. Okay, good. No. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we have a lot of kind of tiers or approaches. Tier 1 is all students. And then we have tier 2, who's maybe 15 to 20% of students. And this could be academics, behavior, mental health. And then tier 3 is a pretty small percentage of students. If your students at tier 1, they're getting all of the supports that every student gets. If your students were noticing some patterns of behavior or concerns, mental health or academics, we have our student support teams, one more mental health focused and one with teachers and staff. It's the full picture. So we're looking at patterns of students. Every couple of months, we sit down together and we look at rosters of kids in our tier 1, 2, and 3 to make sure we're providing them the supports based off what we see. And then we're tracking if our intervention's working. Are they staying where they're at? Is it getting worse or is it getting better? So that we can maintain that to support students. Again, whether it's academics, is it referral for one of those people on our student support list? Are we having family meetings? What are our communications home looking like? Is this something the parent goes, that doesn't happen at home? Or is this something that we all are seeing patterns to? And what kind of supports do we need to come together to refer them to or get connected, make plans? We have safety plans. We have behavior contracts. We have a lot of systems in place for students that they're unaware of that a lot of students actually have. They're living in that spotlight effect where they all assume that everybody's looking at me. So everybody's only thinking about themselves. I share that with them to let them know that it's unique to you, but nobody else is aware of it because they're mostly concerned with themselves. That's just developmental. So there is a tiered approach to how much support and when concerns pop up and what those communications look like. And if at home you're saying, hey, I think they're keeping it together at school and we're really struggling at home, that's information we want to know so that we can think about what's going on at school that might to try to offset that for when they go home. Or is it anxiety? Is it a conversation of a referral for something or someone with mental health? Or are we in the wrong placement? If math is just too much, what do we need to do about that to provide them the support so that they can navigate through middle school? Gabby, I'm just kind of going in this direction. Yep, high cap. So it denotes in their Skyward. So typically students in high cap are going to be placed into the advanced math course. And then teachers who, as they're working through their curriculum and development design, they're looking at extension activities and opportunities within the class. And then on Wednesdays, Tracy McKnight serves them during their elective. So they miss that once a week. Teachers know and plan for that. So they're not adversely impacted academically or in the progress of what's going on in the course. And then they'll have those opportunities. They tend to do robotics. They did a competition. Our students tend to go and they've won quite a few, especially when they're going and competing against schools with 800 kids in them. So we're sending 14 kids and they're competing against schools who have a whole self-contained high cap program. And our students are meeting, or I hate the word beating, are competing and succeeding against those students. And we won. And then similar to the elementary, the field trips. So those students still engage and participate in those. So it's a pretty fun experience to watch them. And a lot of it is like a passion project. So they start and then they have to do a proposal and then they do the self-exploration of programming that they work with Tracy on throughout the year. Yeah. 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 Where do we post Coffee with the Principal materials, Ms. McCarroll? I'll get that information to you. I think I think it'll go through Parent Square through the 5th grade, all families, ICA, Waldorf, new students. Let's get your contact information. Thank you for that question. Yeah. Yep. It happens often. Challenge by choice next year with the parking lot. But yeah, a lot of our students will hop on the bus there. So you're not having to navigate 2 stops. So Cougar or Orca bus, and we'll get those communications out. And so your student, so then we know that Johnny can hop off here because they're going to meet you. So it's not just fingers crossed. We saw him get off at blank. So it's still tiered approach. So then you only have to do one pickup. Yeah. I'm going to go back this way now. You wouldn't be yet, but I have ability to start communicating down to 5th grade. Stay on it. Yeah. You'll get rolled up to the middle school communications. Yeah. Yep. School gets out at 2:45. Practice starts at 3. So it's also helping them navigate between 2:45 and 3, have all your materials, get your instrument, and now you need to go change and don't forget your shoes. I found a cleat a couple days ago, just one. So I gave it to the coach, said, I bet you'll find this kiddo. So it's helping them learn those executive functioning of getting from point A to point B and then getting home. When most sports do not participate on Wednesdays, it worked out beautifully this year. Track, because it's half of our school, they have their competitions Wednesdays only, so that they're missing just a little bit of school. When it's not, it's like, where did everyone go? It's ideal class sizes, to go back to the classroom question. So usually not on Wednesdays, depending on the coach and availability. Sometimes at the beginning of the season, if we need to get, I think, between 8 and 10 practices to compete, depending on when their competitions start, we might do a Wednesday. That coach is going to communicate that. I had heard that. They are going to come on the 27th, the Tuesday after, I think it's your birthday.
They might be coming the 28th. I think we are coming the 26th down
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
And then the students are coming up the 28th. So that week they will see a lot of us.
Yeah. So the 26th, we're going to come down and give them a presentation similar to this, because it's the boring stuff. It's the adults. And then they have student-led tours. So they're talking with students who walk it, who live it, who are a friendly face for next year. They go through and they say, this is so-and-so. Don't forget this in this class. They're not going to remember some of those little nuances, but they normalize and make the space comfortable and can ask questions. How do you get from PE over to science? That feels really far. They talk about it. They share their experience. So they'll come on the 28th. Thank you. We had to move it. We were gonna do it, but they're at camp. So we had to pivot. Yeah.
Nothing.
Safety.
I am going to.
Mhm.
One, I think the halls also.
Yeah.
Because we help.
Yeah.
As a community.
Yeah.
And because, which is,
A detention with the victim.
yes,
It wouldn't. see-
aggressor with the victim.
Yeah, I wouldn't have that in a situation. I don't know why the victim would be in detention. I would need to know more, but we would, one of our goals is separation, especially if an incident just happened, for separation, and then voluntary restorative work with that student, but we wouldn't put them together. We have cameras throughout campus with the exception of bathrooms. Part of our upgrades of construction is those bathroom stalls that have more visual accessibility to them to see who's going in when, et cetera, without compromising any like privacy factors. And then safety, every period, you're going to see pretty much every teacher, myself, Ms. Grimm, in the hallway during transition periods. Yeah. Yeah.
Just saw a video recently.
There's videos throughout all campuses, with the exception of bathrooms and locker rooms. But there's supervision in locker rooms, so there's an adult when they're in there. Thank you for that question. What other questions are top of mind?
Just to add on to that a little bit, a lot of times something that I frequently run into is hearing about something a month later of this thing happened or this was happening to my kid and it's been going on for 6 months and this is the first time it's being brought up. So a lot of times we don't know things, or I'll just flat say, we don't know that things are going on if people don't tell us, right? Because if we can't actually see it in the hallway or wherever we're at, we won't know that it's going on. We're watching 300 kids go through the hallway. I'm making sure they're like not pushing each other down the stairs is my priority. So I might not see then that this other kid's been saying something to your student in the hallway every day, and then no one tells us. It's very hard for us to know things are going on if we aren't informed that they're going on. So that communication of, hey, this thing's happening every day, or the student wants to come down, or email. I have on my Google Classroom a request to meet with the counselor. They can just send a request through a Google form, and then I just pull them at some point during the day, and they rank how serious is it. And if it's something super serious, I get them within 20 minutes. And so they can then say, this is what happened, or send an email. This is what's going on outside of this classroom. And then we can go and look. But if things aren't communicated to us, it's nearly impossible for us to know something's going on, especially if it's something happening outside of school that it's been brewing. If we don't know that then this might come into school, it's hard to know that that thing is happening outside of school.
Yeah, and a lot of times between summer and the school starting, a parent will come and say, starting in June, this thing started happening between my student and this student. And it wasn't on campus grounds. A lot of times it's, have you worked with law enforcement? What have you done to mitigate that? Have you worked with that family? Not that that would be something you might do, but if it started in June when they weren't on campus, please don't wait until September to do what you can to mitigate that. And again, with that technology component of your student, we used to go home and not see each other again until, June 15th was like, bye, see you in September, unless you had a few close friends. But through social media channels, some students are exposing themselves daily to students that they wouldn't normally otherwise hang out with. And my biggest recommendation, when they have social media, like unless they're a friend and they're bringing you joy, you need to block that person and helping them. And I always say, make me the person that required you to do that. So be that person for your kid to say, my mom said I had to block you if it comes up, because I don't care. Maybe you don't. If you have to be the bad person to make your child's life better, I was required to block you. I'm like, say I made you. I'm not making them, but say, I'll be the person that takes that hit. I'm okay with that if it's going to protect you. So some of those things happen over summer that show up at school that we're unaware of. So if something did happen over summer that we should know about as they're entering school, let us know so we can mitigate that through scheduling, and then just supports for students if something comes up. Homework for all of us. Parent Square, I'll be communicating down through 5th grade as things are coming up. Homework for you, your student, all of us: maintain low, no screen time. I know that can be really challenging. Read for joy. That's a really big component of our English language arts department, is giving students books that provide them joy, things that they enjoy. It's just a lifelong activity. Parent actively with love, connect with trusted loved ones, because parenting a tween and a teen is the most rewarding challenge. So you got to have your people to support you, to ask questions. My sister and I talk, we have same age kids, and it's like, is this normal? Is this expected? To kind of take in a pulse with other people of like, is this just part of the journey, or is it something I need to be a little bit more worried about? And to prepare them for high school. So that's kind of our summer homework challenge for you and your student and your family. And once construction is information for summer is finalized, those communications are going to be going out. Your student's going to show up the first day of school without a schedule, because they're going to get it. That first day is not, those first few weeks are not academic. It's a lot of social emotional. It's a lot of wayfinding. It's a lot of learning how to be a middle schooler so that they can then show up and start to dig into the rigorous stuff, and have those social places already set so that they feel ready for it. And yeah, we went way over time. I apologize. Yeah. We're super excited. I'd say the parents bring more anxiety than the students when it comes to it, which I understand, because it's like, I don't know what it looks like. Yeah. So and that's part of why we also do those tours now, so that they can go home and digest it over summer versus just the like, I don't know what goes on in that building over there. It's like, well, let's show you. Come and take a look. Come meet the people. They're pretty friendly. So you're welcome. This will be posted where we post coffee with the principal materials, slides. Somebody asked for something else. I said I would post, what was it? I'll go back and the maps. Yeah. Dates for the tours. Thank you. Yep. It is. The parking lot will look a little different next year because we'll have 2 entry points. Actually, Don't quote me on that yet. A lot of parents, once they start to navigate, if you're coming this direction, if you pull over right at those tennis courts, they hop onto that sidewalk. A lot of families learn pretty quickly. Or it's a lot of training of like tuck and roll. Beginning of the school year, I see mom and dad get out with their coffee and they put the backpack on Junior and they give hugs and kisses. That was before we got to school. Yeah. And also exiting on the right side of that car. It is a parking lot with teen drivers. So it's teaching your kiddo, this is how we exit a car and this is how we get safely there. That's another one of those life lessons that here's how we get on and off and here's what we do, and helping parents know that there's another 20 parents behind you and those sweet hugs and kisses. I don't know. They might kill you doing that in the parking lot anyway. So maybe do that at home. But that have your stuff ready. What do you have? What do you need when you get out? So it's a lot of coaching those parents and helping those kiddos. So we do have a little drop-in spot, trying to keep the flow. But I would say before 8 or at 8:14 and a half. Yeah. 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 So, but also that Maxwell and drop can be, once you feel safe, there's a crosswalk if you're coming the other way. I don't love that personally. But on the other side at those tennis courts, there's a crosswalk they can walk directly where all the buses are getting dropped off straight into the main entrance. So the campus is open at 7. So if you want your kiddo there at 7. Yeah. So yeah, a little. Yeah.
And there is
'cause
limited
here I
supervision at
understand
7.
Because you're all waiting, right? You're waiting for the 8:20.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a teacher, he gets there at 6:30. It just feels good for him. He feels like it's his think time. There's a couple of them. So around 7, so there's tables, lunch, breakfast is available. So I'd say the average amount of time kids come in is between like 7:50 and 8:05 is the big rush. So, but if you need to drop them off early for your schedule, or they've coordinated with the teacher to get support ahead of the day, that's not unheard of. Yeah. Okay. All dependent on construction. Yeah.
This year we got in the building like 3 days before school started.
But we won't be in cubicles. Our goal is to have access to our office by late August. So then we'll know more then. Yeah. We usually do a business day where you come in, you give your physical, you give all those forms, you pay for all the things. So it'll just be contingent on the construction timeline. It's part of why it's nice that Labor Day so late this year gives them like 4 extra days. And in my world, I'm like, what's 4 days? But in construction, I guess it's a lot. So go ahead. Yep, we do curriculum night that second week of school. Yep, and so you'll be invited to that and you'll follow your student schedule. So you'll come in and here's where we are, and then you go and you follow their schedule, meet every teacher, see how they navigate, where they go to get from point A to point B and what that looks like. So you get to kind of walk their shoes, which is pretty fun. Okay. Yeah, yep. And we're doing that explicitly also just for, here's your schedule. Here's how it's going to go. I know you're not in with your new best friends and their schedule, and that's okay. So let's try this. And then navigating it. Advisory is going to be the first few weeks of school to help to learn all these steps of what middle school looks like, navigating the schedule. What does that actually look like and mean? So it'll be a little old school. They're going to get it on paper. Yeah. Yeah. We're kind of pivoting. We're going to maybe harm some trees, but for the sake of students, it's going to be okay. I'm gonna turn the mic off. Good. Okay.